Hello summoners and welcome back to another Pro Guides video. My name is Nathan Ing and we'll be discussing the counter picks of some of the more popular OP champions on patch 11.20. We'll be going over the runes, builds, and playstyles to effectively counter specific matchups. So the next time you run into one of these characters, you'll have the game knowledge and confidence to bully your opponents. First up, we'll be talking about Jax into Camille. Camille is basically the new Lulu. She's ridiculously OP, but Riot won't nerf her, so we get to complain about her every single patch. Thankfully, it's not completely hopeless. Jax is a really solid answer to her at every single stage of the game. In lane, if Camille is trying to trade with her W, just jump on her with your Q and then smack her a couple of times. Usually getting close to Camille isn't something that most people would want to do, but Jax's E allows you to completely nullify her second Q, which is the biggest tool in her trading arsenal. Just make sure that you don't use her E a little bit too early. If you wait until she uses her first Q, and you know the timing on her second Q, you'll never mess up. Once you have a lead, she'll be unable to do anything in a side lane until you split to win. Now for your build. For your runes, you want to run Conqueror, Triumph, Alacrity, or Tenacity, Last Stand, Biscuit Delivery, and Time Warp Tonic, with the stat runes being Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and Armor. For your items, you'll be starting with the Corrupting Potion, then build into Blade of the Rune King, Lucidity Boots or Steel Caps, and then Trinity Force. After that, go for Seric's Gauge, Death Stands, and a situational last item. Having solid counter picks is definitely an important part of winning in solo queue. If you're playing off the back foot from Select, odds are already pretty bad. But there's more to it than that. You also need really solid fundamentals if you're actually trying to climb. Whether you're new to the game or just have years of bad habits, it can be really hard to find direction on your own. Our top tier coaches over at ProGuides.com can help you figure out exactly what you need to work on. They're available 24/7, so it's never a bad time to try one out. I promise there's at least one that specializes in exactly what you're looking for. These guys have spent years reaching the top of the ladder, so why wouldn't you want to steal all their solo queue tips and tricks? All you have to do is click the link in the description. Now, anyway, let's get back into the video. Now, let's look at Cassiopeia into Tahm Kench. Tom has been a top lane terror since his mini rework, being able to stat check any bruiser that tries to go toe-to-toe with him. Picking a ranged AD top laner really doesn't go that much better. Since he builds Steel Caps, Sunfire, and Thornmill, he can basically regenerate through your damage. But building against a magic threat is a lot less comfortable for tanks in general, especially when that magic dealer is Cassiopeia. Her high DPS over time makes her an amazing tank killer once you have the items for it. She does have a bit of a slowish startup due to how mana hungry she is early, but you'll easily be able to stay safe from Tahm Kench. Once you do have a tier and a lost chapter, you have the mana sustain to be a little bit more aggressive, but you'll really start to push him around once you have Liandry's done. Now let's look at the build. For your runes, run Conqueror, Presence of Mind, Tenacity, Cut Down or Coup de Grace, Taste of Blood, and Ravenous Hunter, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Magic Resistance. For your items, you'll be starting off with the Doran's Ring, buy Terra on your first base, and then build Liandry's Anguish, Archangel Staff, Rally's Crystal Scepter, Cosmic Drive, Void Staff, and Rabadons. If you need Zhonya's, slide it over Rally's. Taking a look now at the jungle, our first pick is Taliyah into Xin Zhao. This definitely isn't the type of counter where you just run at him head on. Xin Zhao will definitely destroy you in head-to-head 1v1s. Instead, you more counter him in skirmishes and teamfights, and stashing over your E will make Xin Zhao take a ton of damage. Then, if he jumps on a target, you can use a well-placed W to shove him off. Early game, you want to path away from him and focus on ganking your lanes to have CC for early kills. If you're not too confident in your pathing and early game decision making, you'll still get smashed by snowballing picks like Xin Zhao. So to brush up in those areas, remember to visit us at ProGuides.com. Now let's look at the build. For your runes, run Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Nimbus Cloak, and Water Walking, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, start Hailblade and then build into Luden's Tempest, Sorcerer's Shoes, and if you're confident, grab a Medjai's. After that, go for Zhonya's, Void Staff, and a Rabadon's. If it's too tough to maintain Medjai stacks, Cosmic Drive is a good replacement. Our other jungle counter is Fiddle into Kha'Zix. This is another one where you aren't actively looking to find Kha'Zix and fight him. In fact, he's the one that has to be worried about your ridiculous scaling. He has no way to stop your drain, so if he invades you and fights you on a camp, he's probably fighting an unwinnable fight. And in teamfights, it's not even a contest as to who's going to have more of an impact. Fiddle is just the best 5v5 champion in the game. Plus, you even have the bonus of revealing him in your stealth with your W, rendering his Duskblade and ultimate useless. Anyway, let's look at the build. For your runes, you'll run Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Ultimate Hunter, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, start with a Hailblade, buy an early Darksteel, grab Sorcerer's Shoes, and then build into Rocket Belt and Zhonya's. If it's going well, then you'll go for Medjai's at this point, then go for Void Staff and Rabadon's. If Medjai's isn't working out, Morellonomicon is a good replacement. Now for the mid lane, our first counter is Lissandra into Yasuo. Liss has always been a safe mage pick into melee mids, and this matchup is no exception. You're easily able to trade on him pretty hard in lane with the Q spam, and if he ever goes in on you, you just W and walk away. Or slide away, whatever her animation is, I don't know. Just be sure that if you're in a spot where you need your E to escape, use it before you can gap close and cancel out your claw with his wind wall. Post 6, you have a really easy gank setup for your jungler, since neither of your CCs are blockable by wind wall. And for that same reason, if he ever jumps into you in a team fight, you instantly lock him down and then blow him up. Anyway, let's look at the build. For your runes, run Electrocute, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Transcendence, and Gathering Storm, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you want to start with the Doran's Ring and then build Luden's Tempest and Sorcerer's Shoes. At this point, it's a pretty good idea to grab an early Oblivion Orb. Most people would go for Zhonya's at this point, but you don't always have to get it so early. You could go for Rabadon's first for the big damage in team fights. Either way, grab both of those and then Void Staff, and then finish up by upgrading your orb to Murillo Nomicon. Our other mid lane counter is Fizz as an answer to Katarina. Usually Katarina is a pretty scary matchup. You make one mistake and she jumps on a dagger and then you're just, well, dead. This can be pretty tilting, but when you play Fizz into her, you can pretty much mindlessly win trades anytime she tries to fight you. You'll pretty much just overpower her in any fight, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Her shampoo is instant, so she can always dodge a shark with it. So aim for her after she uses the shampoo to go in. Remember, even if she shampoos onto a dagger for a lower cooldown, it's not an instant reset and you have a couple of seconds to punish her. The other thing is that your E can help avoid a lot of damage if you save it for when she ults. TLDR, run a cat, do a ton of damage, and if she ults, press E to hop away until it's over, or right onto her. If she chases, shark after she uses her E. Now let's look at your build for Fizz. For runes, run Electrocute, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Triumph, Coup de Grace, Double Adaptive Force, and Magic Resistance. For your items, start with Corrupting Potion, then build into Luden Tempest, and then Sorcerer's Shoes. A lot of people like Lucidity Boots on Fizz, but trust me, you want the extra damage for all ins in this matchup. Next, grab Lichbane, and then either Medjai's or Zhonya's depending on how spicy you're feeling. Then you'll want to grab Void Staff, and you'll top things off with the Rabadons. Moving things down to the bot lane, we have Veigar into Jhin. Veigar doesn't really hard counter anything on his own, at least not in the early game. Instead, you're just sort of there to neutralize the laning phase, and more importantly, set up your team for easy kills. Since Jhin is an early bully, and Veigar does pretty much nothing early, you'll always just concede the lane and let Jhin push at the tower. Once he does, you have a really easy time to set up your jungler for a baby cage. Aside from that, you'll just be chillin', stacking your passive early. Post 6, things really take a sudden turn. And if you have any type of aggressive support, you can easily go for 100-0 kills on Jhin. And once you have Ludens and Sorcerers, you can go ahead and delete them on your own. Now let's look at the build. For your runes, you'll run Electrocute, Taste of Blood, Eyeball Collection, Ravenous Hunter, Presence of Mind, and Cut Down or Coup de Grace, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you'll start with the Doran's Ring and then build into Luden's Tempest, Sorcerer's Shoes, and Cosmic Drive. After that, you'll want Void Staff, Rabadon's Death Cap, and Zhonya's Hourglass. Our other bot lane counter is also a mage. This time it's Ziggs as a pick against Misfortune. MF's trading in lane is pretty oppressive, but they're doing a lot of bursts in a very short amount of time. To counter that, you just use Ziggs and sit back out of her effective trading range. Early on, you won't be able to do that much, but once you get Lost Chapter and a few points into your queue, you can constantly shove waves and avoid the 2v2 altogether. In teamfights, you're able to fight well outside of MF's damage range and even avoid her ultimate altogether. And if she ever is close enough to use her ultimate on you, you're in range to W her for an instant halt on the ability. Now, let's look at the build that you'll want to run. For your runes, run Comet, Mana Flow, Transcendence, Gathering Storm, Presence of Mind, and Coup de Grace, with the stat runes being Double Adaptive Force and Armor. For your items, you'll start with the Doran's Ring, buy an early Dark Seal, and then recall as soon as you have Lost Chapters so you never have to worry about mana again. Now, build your Luden's Tempest, Sorcerer's Shoes, and Horizon Focus. Upgrade to Medjai's and then buy your Void Staff and Rabadon's Death Cap. This build is super glass cannon and will delete squishies and even bruisers pretty much instantly, but if you're a coward, go for Zhonya's over Medjai's. Mage bot laners aren't exactly a new thing. We featured them in our videos, specifically our 3 main series, pretty much forever. They have high performance rate, but they are still kind of underplayed. And that brings us to today's question of the day. What is a champion that you think is really OP but still underplayed? Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below, and maybe, just maybe, it might get featured in a future video. Now for our supports, the first counter that we have is Leona into Blitzcrank. Blitz is a really strong pick right now because most other meta picks are just really squishy and hooking them is a free kill. A lot of support mains ban Blitz as a result, but instead of being afraid of him, just learn Leona. Or just play her, she's not that hard to learn. Playing against Blitzcrank is basically a buff for her. Instead of being a free death, being hooked is just a free engage at any stage of the game. With this hook basically being all Blitz really has to offer, you're just completely neutralizing him as long as you block it. Now, here's your build. You want to build Rocket Belt, so you could go ahead and Rocket Belt in front of that hook, and just kidding. For your runes, run Aftershock, Font of Life, Conditioning, Overgrowth, or Unflinching, Biscuits, and Cosmic Insight, with the stat runes being Haste, Armor, and Magic Resistance. Now for your actual items, start Relic Shield, Rush Boots and Mobility, and then build into Locket of Iron Solari. After that, you'll want Zeke's Convergence, Ward Stone, and if the game goes on long enough, you can either go for Anathemas, Abyssal, or Thornmail. Our last counter pick is Rel into Amumu. Rel is one of the more niche picks in League. She's perfect for countering enemy supports that go for all-ins. That isn't a huge one-on-one type counter like the last one. If Amumu wants to engage on your team, then he's going to be able to do so with his double bandage toss, flash, and ultimate. Instead, your goal in this matchup is to counter engage on his team. When he goes forward, you just let him pass, and then combo his team. Your W and your ultimate will do a lot to stop his team from following up, and any enemies that make a pass are an easy target for your E. Then it's just a matter of your team burning down Amumu and then coming to help you bring down the rest of the team. Now, here's your build for Rel. For your runes, run Aftershock, Font of Life, Conditioning, Overgrowth, or Unflinching, Triumph, and Tenacity, and the stat runes being Ability Haste, Armor, and Magic Resistance. For your items, start with the Relic Shield, and then build into Lucidity Boots, Locket of Iron Solari, and Zeke's Convergence. After that, grab Ward Stone and either an Abyssal Mask, Thornmail, or Gargoyle Stoneplate. And that concludes our latest episode of Counter Picks, and if you guys can tell, my voice is so shot right now. I really want to get this video out for you guys. Also, my jaw locked up, so it's pretty hard for me to enunciate and speak. Anyway, in spite of all of that, I hope you guys really enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure you sub so you never miss out on our meta guides, and you're always in the loop on what the best picks are. Remember, let us know what champion you think is OP but underplayed down in the comments below. Oh, and one last thing. Don't forget to check out our Discord in the description box below, where you can discuss League further or just hang out and be part of the community. I want to try to be more active there, so please feel free to say hi to me or just tag me whenever. I'll try my best and, talk to y'all. I can't wait to see you guys back in the next video, but until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.